It's another go-around of SDH AM. John, hear you there. Pictures, always worth 1,000 words. Mine might be worth about 10. So that is how we are today. We figured we'd bust out just as a celebration of the tournament in and of itself. For those of you that haven't gone poor yet, go to Capelli. We got our Cabo Verde gear, and the boss is already stealing it. All right, so since it is a Friday, we always have to start it the only way we know how to start it. So here we go. No, that's the long version. That's the ending. I don't need the ending. I need the short version. The short. Now, that's at the end of the show in about 2.5 hours. So now.
Come on, man. Go for it, dude.
It's Friday. Friday. Day.
Now we can start the show. John, hear you there. Thanks for dropping by as you always do. It's Friday. MLS is back. They'll take it from here. And if last night was an example, then we are in for a treat of a sprint between now and October, November. You had one game, sadly, pushed back until October, but obviously the health of everyone with the Canadian wildfires, you got to keep an eye on that. And it's been drifting, and I've been keeping an eye on the Big 55 this morning, where they've got live shots going on in New York City because of just how the smoke has drifted from the Canadian wildfires into the Midwest and the Northeast. So keep an eye on what's going on Sunday too. So because of that and the impact it was having on Chicago, and it was thick, the smoke in Chicago, it was pretty thick. So they've pushed the Vancouver-Chicago match back to October the 6th. So that'll create more schedule compression later on in the year. But you had 3 other matches last night. 2 of them had a lot of goals that made up for the first one. Our friend Jess Charman and Ian Joy were doing the first match at Stade Saputo with Montreal and Toronto, another go-round of Canadian Classique. It had no goals by 90 minutes. The other 2 did. We'll have highlights coming up here of those 2 matches from last night. We'll set you up for what's going to happen today. It is 2 matches. It is Atlanta United and it is Nashville SC. And it is also late night, El Tráfico. And so those are on a doubleheader from Big FOX. And we'll hear from Cooper Sanchez. Jason had a conversation with Cooper Sanchez, and we will hear a little bit of that. And for the full conversation, visit the Off the Woodwork podcast section, 92.9 The Game, and the Odyssey app, 929thegame.com. We're going to play a little snippet of it, but obviously it's been a very, very busy summer for Cooper Sanchez, and we will find out just how busy, at least a little bit with us. The full conversation with Jason and Cooper, 929thegame.com, and the Odyssey app and the Off the Woodwork podcast section. So here's the rundown for the morning. Rundown for the morning is as follows. From the Kaiser Permanente studios. Once again, thanks to Kaiser Permanente for all that they have done for us, all they are doing for us, and we could not do any of this without them. We can't thank them for their friendship and partnership ever since day one jumping in the door. So thanks to our friends at Kaiser Permanente from the Kaiser Permanente studios. It is Freestyle Friday here on SDH AM. Michael Parker is set to join us as our friends from Beyond Goals Mentoring visit for the first time in a long time, considering how summer can be a time where you want to take some time off. So we'll catch up with Cap on a couple of different topics, and we will find out what's on his mind heading into Atlanta United second half, the World Cup final, and mentoring questions that I have involving big events, handling yourself, emotionally, and navigating all the ups and downs of trying to stay in control in an environment like what you're going to hopefully be seeing in the Meadowlands on Sunday. Then we'll work our way through the rest of the weekend in Major League Soccer. We'll let you know what's going on, reset everything going on in all the leagues. And at 11 o'clock, we're going to be keeping an eye on something that is going on in the draws for championships. And so at 10 o'clock this morning, we're going to be kind of keeping one eye on a draw and then waiting for 11 o'clock to talk about the draw, because at 10 o'clock, it is and you can watch this live on a separate screen. So we recommend an entire, a multi-screen experience today. So coming up at 10 o'clock, it is the 2026 IFCPF Men's and Women's World Cup draw, 10 o'clock. That's going to be down at the training center, the National Training Center in Fayetteville. And coming up in mid to late August, it's 11 days, October 15th through the 25th, you're going to have I think it's the largest gathering of World Cup soccer involving cerebral palsy football that you've ever seen. And it is the World Cup tournament is going to be at the National Training Center, the Arthur M. Blank U.S. Soccer National Training Center in Fayetteville in mid to late October. Their World Cup draw is happening at the training center in 45 minutes or so. So we're going to be kind of keeping one eye on that, and then we're going to catch up with the CEO, not Mercedes Monet, but the CEO of the International Federation of Cerebral Palsy Football, Ashley Hammond. Ash Hammond is set to join us around 11 o'clock. So whenever the draw is completed, then have some time to catch their breath. Added time at 11 o'clock, we're going to be joined by Ash Hammond, the CEO of the IFCPF, to break down the draw, what it means, and what it's like to have a place like the Arthur M. Blank U.S. Soccer National Training Center to host this kind of a World Cup. Group stage matches, 20 teams, men's and women's World Cup. First time it's ever hosted in the United States. 12 men's sides, 8 women's sides, 56 matches. And the women's tournament is going to be the largest women's cerebral palsy football World Cup in history of the IFCPF. So we're going to talk about all of that stuff. Ash Hammond's going to join us around 11 o'clock, and we'll break down everything going on when it comes to the IFCPF and the World Cup draw, which is going to happen at 10 o'clock. Catch up with Ash Hammond, the CEO of the IFCPF, at 11, and we'll break it all down there. So that's kind of what we're keeping an eye on this morning, at least during the live part, and we'll have all the other stuff to talk about. We will have all of your facts and figures and fun involving the third and fourth place games. And there is something that for opening kickoff I will discuss involving third place games. But that is the rundown for the morning. That is the rundown for the morning. We're going to get you ready for the weekend in a bunch of different ways. NWSL is rolling along. MLS is back. They'll take it from here. You've got the IFCPF at 11 o'clock, and you've got this World Cup thing that's going on. There's a championship game. Like I said, I don't know if you've heard about it, but it's going to be happening on Sunday. And if you are anywhere near a watch party, I know Decatur is having a massive send-off for theirs. Indigo Girls are going to be attached to the last day. And I think we're catching up with the city of Decatur on the 28th. So in about 10 days, we're going to let them catch their breath a little bit, come back in 2 Tuesdays, and find out about the city of Decatur and what they've learned about hosting this kind of stuff and having, I want to say, close to 160,000 people by the time they're done have an event of this import and have 160,000 people come into your downtown area. So we're going to catch up with the city of Decatur in 2 Tuesdays. But find your watch parties. I know that South Downtown is going to be crowded. And wherever you go, wherever you watch, if you watch from home, watch from home. Invite friends. If you watch from a watch party that is organized by a city or a restaurant, go and enjoy that too. Like I said, we're going to be in South Downtown, and AST is going to be on after the match, I think from like 6 to 9 on your Sunday. And then we will have one more work week of working straight. SDH AM weekend will be up and running one more time this Saturday and Sunday, 9:05 Eastern, across the network. It'll be obviously shorter because we're only talking about 2 games and we're talking about 1 game, but we'll have obviously a lot of other things to talk about. So SDH AM weekend will be up and running on Saturday and Sunday as well. But once again, Saturday you got your third place match. Sunday you've got your championship for the world. And find your fun, find your locations, and have a fantastic weekend celebrating what this city has done and what your favorite city has done when it comes to celebrating the World Championships. Morning Ropes and Morning Alex. And so, obviously, we've got some news across everything that we'll get into. Okay, so opening kickoff. Brought to us by our friends at Black Pitch Coffee and blackpitchcoffee.com. Starting your day with the most important stories in the game. Right way to start your morning. Black Pitch Coffee, part of the SDH community, showing up at events all over Atlanta. Try their home blend. Made with beans from Brazil and Guatemala. Heavy-bodied, notes of walnut, semi-sweet chocolate, a rich world-class finish. Opening kickoff powered by Black Pitch Coffee and blackpitchcoffee.com. I don't know if you saw this. And it was posted, by, and it was an op-ed. So I'll warn you now. There was an op-ed posted having to do with the third place match. And it was no real surprise that someone would come up with this kind of opinion having to do with clicks and so on. So this boundless opinion. It's like, I don't know what would cause someone other than legitimately to just sit there and say, hey, read my article. It's an outlandish opinion. Go read my article. So the headline, shameless FIFA insists on pointless third place game that glorifies losing and should be removed from World Cup. That's the headline of the piece. And it's an op-ed. So like I said, this is what this individual thinks. I don't know how much backing this has. I don't know if it, is just somewhere you're just, man yells into ether. Ether does not respond, that kind of a thing. So literally you had a hue and cry from a U.S. reporter for a British entity to sit there and eliminate the third place game. They're being punished by this writer, saying they're being punished with a World Cup third place game that no one wants and has already been ridiculed on social media. Other than it being a part of the tradition of the tournament and, being somewhat selfish, you sit there and it's like, well, it's also another game that the entities that run and or pay rights fees get the opportunity to sell ads for. I mean, if you want to be the most crass about the idea, that's what it is. It's another TV program. But it's also been a part of the fabric of the tournament for as far back as I can remember. So it's not going away. And so literally this was a writer for a British network after the loss. So you can imagine the vitriol in the first place about the tournament in general. And so the idea is to go play a completely pointless third place game that no one wants and will never make up for brutally losing to Argentina in the semis. So, and then, of course, you go down all the cheap ideas of, tiny participation trophies, the bronze medal match. And I mean, that's what it is. You've seen it in the 5-ring circus too, where you have bronze medal matches. And it has been referred to as an absurdity. No one deserves this. No one wants to be rewarded for losing in the semis. And so this is, what you have. You have people who, for whatever reason, and like I said, the most base reason is just to basically sit there and it's like, you know what? And you also get an extra $2 million on the deal. That you get, your team gets an extra $2 million in prize money. But I mean, at the bottom line, at its most basic, you have a large entity with a writer that wants to gin up clicks, and so you sit there and it's like, well. No one wants this third place game. It's always been there. It has always been there. Opta, 3 versus 4. First time 2 teams ranked in the top 5 will face in a third place playoff match. France at number 3 and England at number 4. So the jingoistic column in this op-ed piece, put simply, America has no time to waste on third place losers. Who cares if the third place game was introduced in the 1934 World Cup? Well, I would believe that the World Cup would care, considering, like I said, it's been a part of the fabric of the event. And like I said, at its most crass, the notion is that it's another TV program that gets to have ad revenue attached from it, or pulled from it and attached to it. So literally, I saw this headline, and I was like, well, okay, no shock here that you would have this kind of a thing. Morning local, by the way. So you have all these people that want to, and this is one of the things that I always try to warn people about. Spread your joy about the game that we talk about. I know that we do a lot. And I know that there are some times where you have a lot of folks that just want to talk negative. They want to beat the game down. Nothing is good. Harumph, harumph, harumph. An outlandish talking point here, and nothing's good. And so, Team A stinks. Team B sucks. Blah, blah, blah. What I would ask for you as we head into the final weekend of this go-round, when it comes to the game, the growth of the game, what we've seen, and I will probably wax a little further poetic about it when we get into the weekend, and maybe on Monday, as kind of like a sine die to the whole thing. But anybody wants to come and pull your sunshine away, don't let them. Silly stuff like that particular column that is pulling out column inches and creating clicks and opportunities for people to sit there and be a rage merchant, an irrational rage merchant. Just smile and laugh. Just smile and nod and go, bless your heart. And then we can all sit there and go, you know what happened in this tournament? Specifically in this city. And we talked about the numbers yesterday. Michael Parkhurst set to join us in less than 10 minutes. In this city where we are based, and this is just the downtown numbers, it does not reflect anything that is attached to any of the watch parties that were brought together by cities and counties outside the perimeter when it comes to where we are here at SDH HQ. This does not include what happened in Chattanooga with the Spanish national team, or Augusta, or Columbus, or Macon, or Savannah, or any place that you might have seen that a watch party or a gathering is taking place. What this tournament did and is doing for 2 more match days is reminding us where the game has come from and where it is going. And I think the idea of us being the proper steward for it gets reinforced in moments like this. When you have more than 500,000 people wander into Centennial Olympic Park for the final Fan Fest day, and Piedmont Park is where everything is going to be Sunday, by the way. When you have folks wandering into Centennial Olympic Park to the tune of 500,000, north of 500,000 folks, 544,000 people, I think, were at Mercedes-Benz. So we can call it Mercedes-Benz now. Tournament, no more tournament matches. So at the Benz, you had over 540,000 people. A block down the street, you had another 500,000 for presentations and Fan Fest and that block party. And like I said, in Decatur, you're going to have another 160 for what they've done over a 6-week period with all of their watch parties. All the different teams, 12 different national teams played in the Atlanta area, played in Atlanta for the World Cup. 12. And we went over Mike's rankings of games and everything, and he had like 5 that were ranked number 1. It was like 1 A, B, C, D, and E. And you look at those 8 matches, and you look at the folks that came to town. You can sit there and stare at Argentina all day long. Argentina took over underground Atlanta, and you had 10,000 people there twice. You had Las Palmeras there twice, I believe. The boss got hooked on Las Palmeras because of not knowing what cumbia music was and finding out about Las Palmeras and finding out about Argentina. And she was open to this from the absolute beginning. I wander over to her, and she's wondering what this music is, and I show her the Copa Sudamericana halftime. I think it was the halftime or the pregame. And when the when you have that presentation and those kinds of reminders about how Argentina fans just wander up and down the street, and it's gorgeous visuals, and it shows you what it means to them as a group and as a country. We got to see that twice. We got to see that with Spain more than once. We got to see that with DR Congo more than once. We got to see that with Haiti and Morocco and Czechia and Saudi Arabia and South Africa and Uzbekistan and all of these different places. And I know I left some out off the top of my head. But all of these different cultures, all of these different diaspora, all these different places on the grid where these teams are located, all coming here and turning the city into a party multiple times over for a 6-week period. So if today's the 17th, 47 days. If you go from June 1st, what's 47? 2 days away from 7 weeks. All of this stuff in one place. And we were all a part of it in our small way. And even if we weren't directly engaged or involved, it's something for us to carry forward to grow the game about. To see all these different cultures and see everyone coming together. And even when you had the semifinal of Argentina and England. Lynn, I'll get to your question in a sec. When you got to see all these different things happening here in the home for soccer, Soccer City, USA. You've got the national team headquarters. You had 8 matches in the World Cup. You had the Fan Fest to beat the band. Anybody wants to come at you with any kind of negative-ish, smile and nod, bless your heart. And if they're missing out, they're missing out. But we're all going to grow the game. We're all going to bring it forward, and we're all going to sit there, and we're going to go, this is what the game is now on a worldwide level. And we get to share it, and we had the opportunity to share it with a lot of different folks that we may not have ever had the chance to share it with and may not have had the chance to share it with again until maybe 2031. That kind of stuff. So that is my missive to all of you. Anybody comes at you with any kind of negative-ish, don't let it get to you. We're growing the game here. You're all part of it. You're all growing the game. We're growing it together. And to be able to be in an environment where you can do that, it's a true blessing. That's opening kickoff, brought to us by our friends at Black Pitch Coffee and blackpitchcoffee.com. Starting your day with the most important stories in the game, the right way to start your morning. Black Pitch Coffee, part of the SDH community, showing up at events all over Atlanta. Try their home blend made with beans from Brazil and Guatemala, heavy body, notes of walnut, semi-sweet chocolate, and a rich world-class finish. Opening kickoff, powered by Black Pitch Coffee and blackpitchcoffee.com. Don't let anybody take your shine. Lynn wants to know if we still broadcast these on Mixlr. These are broadcast on, the Twos games are on our Mixlr channel. And you can go to soccerdownhere.net and go to the Listen tab. And whenever we have anything that's going out to our Mixlr channel, you'll know it. You go to soccerdownhere.net, hit Listen, and then you'll know what's heading out to the Mixlr channel. The morning show and all of the other shows themselves, they are on Twitch. They are on the 280 character app. They're on the YouTube channel. And the audio after the fact is put on our main podcatcher, which is on Spreaker. But it goes out to all of the podcatchers. You know, pretty much name your favorite podcatcher, iTunes, whatever. It's there. So wherever you consume everything here in the SDH universe, it is on our platforms and on our social media. The live games, the high school, the tournaments, the Twos, Atlanta United 2, and we've got their matchup with Huntsville coming up tomorrow night at 8, pregame at 7:30. Those are on Mixler. So, Lynn, live games, that's what's on Mixler. Regardless of what it is a live game. It's on our Mixler. So that is on Mixler. Everything else that we do is on YouTube and X and Twitch and archived and put out to podcatchers. Okay. It's been a while. It's been a while since we have seen this individual because, summers are like for vacation and stuff. Or like taking family and friends to, tournaments and things. Not playing enough golf. So we go to our resident mogul in training. Good to see you, sir. It's been quite a while.
Sure has, John. Great to be back on with you.
Well, I mean, so what have you been up to, sir? ?
Softball, baseball season
Mm-hmm.
in full swing. So a lot of that.
Mm-hmm.
So got to 2 World Cup games this summer, which was fun.
Okay.
Including the match 2 days ago at the Benz.
Oh, and you didn't say hi. You and humanity. Were you the one in the middle of the mosh pit for Argentina? Was that you?
I'm a big mosh pit guy.
Yes, absolutely you are.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you Beavis and Butthead. You go like this, and you're just sitting there, and you're doing that in the middle of the pit. I know you.
Yeah.
Don't think I don't.
Exactly. Yeah, that's been about it.
Okay. I don't blame you. You catch your breath and get ready for the sprint after this. All right. So since I was talking about World Cup leading into you, and I was telling everybody that with what happened here in this country, there was an article that was posted. And it was an op-ed piece. So, it's somebody basically sitting there filling up column inches and trying to get clicks, that there shouldn't be a third place game. Those two teams, they don't want anything to do with it. They lost, the only thing missing was a harumph, It's like, we don't need a third place game. They don't want the third place game. They don't need to have anything to do with it. And I was telling folks, it's like, look, somebody says something like that, just sit there and nod and go, bless your heart, and move on. Don't let them get to you about what this last 7 weeks has been in this country about being able to grow the game and share the game with folks, and you being in the middle of the mosh pit with all the Argentina fans. I mean, that's what it's all about, other than, the off the field stuff. It's about learning about other cultures, seeing all of the other diaspora, and seeing how they embrace the game. We get to learn from it. We get to share, and we get to move forward with it. I mean, so what is the vibe been like for you watching and going to these matches?
Yeah, I think you're spot on, John. I think it's been incredible to just see the different fan bases and how they celebrate soccer and the passion that they have. And also, I think when you just bring positive energy, how contagious that can be. And, find things that you have in common with people. So like, the Scottish just took over the Northeast for a little while.
Yes, they did.
They did such great things in the Boston and Rhode Island area, and the community loved them and loved having them. So it was just awesome to see. And obviously the Norwegians, the Dutch, there's just so many awesome fan bases. Obviously Argentina has got a huge fan base and the vibe that they bring, but every little group, I see your sweatshirt and what they did in the tournament. So yeah, I think that's what sport's about. And honestly, obviously the build up to the tournament, there was a little bit of nervousness of what was going to occur here, what could occur.
Yeah.
But the soccer took over, and it's been a great tournament.
When you get, how much mentoring have you been doing over the summer? Let me ask that.
Not a ton, which has been great. A lot of kids have been taking time away, taking time off, enjoying the World Cup. So we've done some check-ins with some kids, but the schedule has been very light, which has been great.
Yeah, and the reason I ask is because of the lessons that you can bring from the World Cup to your mentees, whether it's about togetherness. We see the fans and how they respond, togetherness as a group, not giving up. You look at Argentina, that's like the number one example. Just because you're down doesn't mean it's over. when you look at the World Cup, what are some of those things that you're taking as a mentor that you can share with mentees from what you've been able to watch over the last 7 weeks?
Yeah, totally. I think there's a couple. One is Messi and Mbappe both missed penalty kicks, right?
Yeah.
Within a couple days of each other. And yet they both went on to score goals later in that game and help their team win. So that's a good one. Not only that, but the first game that I went at was Argentina-Egypt.
Oh,
And Egypt were phenomenal for 70, 75 minutes. And Messi was bad. He wasn't even just like, okay, he was bad. And then he turns it around, right? He gets an assist and a goal and helps his team turn that tie around and win the game. And so I think there's a lesson in that too, of like, hey, you're not always going to be at your best, but can you stay with it? Can you dig through? Can you stay focused and be ready for that next opportunity? So he does it obviously so well. I think that there's a lesson in knowing your role. And you look at Spain in their comeback, or not comeback wins, but their late wins. And I can't remember the striker's name, who's now come off the bench and scored 2 game-winning goals.
Oh, Mikel Merino.
Right. So, just because you're not starting doesn't mean you can't, be the star and the game winner, right? As long as you have a good attitude coming off the bench. So, yeah, there's a lot. The underdog story of Cape Verde and, pulling off the impossible, right? Even if you're going against the best team, doesn't always mean that you're going to get rolled over. So, yeah, there's a lot of good stuff that's occurred in this World Cup, and definitely something that we're going to have to go back and make sure that we pull out all the lessons that we can find.
Yeah, and I mean it's one of those target-rich environments where you can kind of go, yes, we can learn about this, and this. Was there anything in the tournament that reinforced what you and Greg have been discussing with mentees, that, I mean, other than the obvious stuff about comebacks and, sticking to plan, things like that? Was there anything that was underrated that you guys have been talking about, sitting there going, yeah, see, we've been talking about this too. And it's not just like a big billboardy kind of a thing. It's like something that might have been a little thing that was reinforced by what you guys have been addressing when it comes to talking to your mentees, like a below the radar kind of a message, whether it's about teamwork or data, even if how you're operating in the day to day because you're in that fishbowl, anything like that might have rubbed off in any way, or it's that reinforced what you guys have been talking about?
That's a really good question, John. One thing I think that is probably a little bit underrated, and obviously it's been touched on, and the topic itself has been huge as far as the Balogun red card. But I think that we talk to our players about finding motivation and finding a why, and right, can you continue to find motivation to push yourself? And I think that even you think that these athletes at the World Cup are at their peak motivation, right? How could you not be motivated to play well in the World Cup? I think there's always an opportunity to find more motivation. And I think the Balogun red card provided even more motivation for Belgium against a Belgium team that was going to be tough to beat anyways.
Yeah.
But I do think it brought them together even more. And so, we definitely talk a lot about finding motivation and how do you get not comfortable and push yourself. And so I think that's a lesson for sure, that reinforces kind of, hey, we can always dig deeper and find more reasons to compete and want to win.
How go ahead.
No, I was just thinking, I was just trying to find other storylines similar to what you were saying.
Well, I mean, how difficult is it to dig deeper? Since you mentioned digging deeper, how difficult is it to find that place that you didn't know that you had until you push yourself to find it? Does that make any sense?
Yeah, I think a lot of people don't know it exists, and sometimes it takes an external factor to just get you there. And once you get there, then you know, okay, it's possible. But sometimes it's uncomfortable trying to get there, right? You think that you're giving it all and finding your top level, but even the Bellingham Messi thing, right? Did that light a fire under Messi for him to play even better, right? So that's in game where it's a semifinal. Of course, Messi's motivated to play well. He wants to win the World Cup, but did it light a little bit of an extra fire underneath him to push him to his absolute max?
I mean, when you see the ISOs come out of that conversation, and then you see you see Bellingham smiling, walking away, and then you see Messi sit there, and he's just like, okay. It's like, yeah, all right, I see where you're coming from, and literally that was one of the largest examples of poking the bear recently that I've seen. It's like you know that someone's already there at 100%, and then all of a sudden it's like at 100 plus. You hit that extra gear, and it's like, all right, fam, it's on. All right, I see where you're coming from. That to me, that literally is like, when you're growing up on July 4th. And, you go across the state line and you get the illegal fireworks, and then you come back and you bring them to the house. And then you're sitting there and it's like, well, hey, you know what? Maybe if I held on to this Roman candle and lighted it and see what it does. Maybe if I just put all of these fireworks in the middle of the driveway and just threw a match into all of it, then we'll see what happens. That seemed like that was what that was for me. That's like sitting there and it's like experimenting, and then you just throw a match and then you don't know what the size of the explosion is going to be. I thought that Bellingham, while I know where he's coming from, considering he's confident as a young player, that's not really something you want to do. You don't want to set that kind of a fire in your driveway, and that's what I think kind of happened, at least with Messi.
I agree. That's exactly why I never really talked a lot of junk on the field. Don't need to motivate strikers more. It doesn't. I think there's more of a chance of that than you are of getting in their head.
Yeah.
The players at that level, there's very few, I feel like, you can get in their head and cause them to play worse. I think it's more going to backfire and cause them to play better.
How many mentees have you come across? Have you converted from being woofers to reminding them to calm down? It's like, what you're doing, that all you're doing is you're getting that other side riled up. How many folks have you had to dial back and have them understand you don't necessarily want to do that? I know there's a line, and I know that you talk about that line, I'm sure, about sitting there, being competitive in a conversation in a match, but that line, you don't want to cross over that line to give that extra motivation. Is that something that you guys talk about a bit?
I think I've only had one.
Yeah.
Who I've kind of tried to show him the other side of trash talking and, like, the possible negative effects of it. But more so, I have to try and help mentees get that edge and get to that level of, like, even wanting to talk smack or go hard or that type of thing. Just towing that line, like you said, getting close to that line and having that alter ego out on the field.
That's interesting, because when we were younger, I mean, we had our brashness. I find it interesting that you're having to sit there and say, look, it's okay to come this direction. Don't go too far. But I thought that they would already be there either at the line or over the line. But you're telling your mentees to come to the line. It's okay to do that. That's interesting to me.
Yeah, and I don't know if it's just who we work with,
because they're all level-headed individuals, and they want to be with other level-headed individuals and understand what's going on.
Yeah, I guess so. But yeah, no, that's definitely what I've seen more of. Yeah.
I mean, because that's all. That's always been a part of our DNA growing up, in in high school and whatever. It's always that smack talk out of whether it's on the basketball court or whatever. But that's interesting that the groups that you're with, the level-headed young athletes, the student athletes that you guys are dealing with, they're all level-headed. You got to bring them along a little bit.
Yeah. Well, and I think that there's something to coaching too nowadays, where it's always like, hey, pass, sportsmanship, be a good teammate. And yes, of course, we say the same things, right? But there's also a point where you can get to where you have to use your emotions.
Yeah.
Some of the, especially South American players that I've played with, their emotional engagement was one of their strengths, right? They use that for fire and passion out on the field. Most often in a good way. Yes, sometimes not so much, but I think that we can learn a little bit from that and try and bring more of that out on the field. But sometimes I think that we're a little bit afraid that it's going to lead to being a bad teammate or making bad decisions out on the field and bad sportsmanship. But as long as you toe the line, or at least get close to the line, you're okay.
Okay. And that's another part of it, is knowing how, knowing the emotion of your opponent, because pushing their buttons and you being in control of your situation, it's like, okay, what's going to work for me here? How can I knock them off their game? Not, send it off the rails or anything, but, can I do a little shoulder bump here? Can I do this? Can I do, can I do a little, an elbow? Oops, I'm sorry, I tripped you accidentally. Those kinds of things. Getting into their head, but not going over the line. That's the other part of all of this that I was thinking about.
For sure.
Who, you mentioned alter egos. Did you have an alter ego?
Not really. It was one thing that I definitely could have been better at. Was going out there with a little bit of an alter ego. I always thought that, and so yes, I don't preach what I practiced all the time, and I tell players, hey, you don't have to have one, but it's okay to have one. Some of the best players I've played with had one, and you can be one person out on the field and be a little bit different there than you are in the locker room, and that's okay, because hopefully whatever happens out on the field, it stays out on the field, and then you can, go back to being who you are off the field.
Who was the most surprising person that had an alter ego? Wasn't Big Red, was it? Wasn't Lorenowitz, who would, he comes in as looking like a librarian, and then all of a sudden he just, he's a sneaky, and he'll just not take any ish on the field or anything like that.
Yeah, I mean, Jeff had one for sure.
Yeah,
no doubt. I mean, he was somebody you did not want to mess with on the field.
No.
Even in practice, though, he would let you know.
Really?
Yeah. I mean, he was never, because he was so intelligent, and even emotionally intelligent. He never really. He was always aware of what he was doing, but there was a big competitor inside Big Red. I mean, I use him as an example because he was always someone that was, I'm not sure I'm good enough. I don't know if I'm going to be starting. I'm going to lose my spot. I'm going to get cut. I'm going to not be on the team. It was always, I have to prove myself. I have to do this. And it was always that for Jeff. He never settled, and he was always out there to prove, hey, I should be starting. I should be on this team. I should, be here next year, whatever it was. He was always out to prove that. And he did it year after year after year after year after year. And what a career. But he definitely had that alter ego where he went out on the field and was like, fuck, don't mess with Jeff.
Welcome to Friday, everybody.
Yes, my apologies.
No worries. Hey, look, that gives us the E rating for the first time in a long time. It's all good. That's what Fridays are for, my friend. It's all good. but no, that word I think is definitely appropriate for Big Red. I mean, that's but but that's another thing where you're talking about insecurity.
Mhm.
And, it's like, I don't know if I'm that good. I don't know if, I don't know if I deserve my starting spot. I don't know if all of these negative thoughts. I mean, we are our own worst critics. Doesn't matter what life we got. We are all our own worst critics. I can't listen to myself on tape. I can't. I hate the sound of my voice after, show's over. I hate the sound of my own voice. I can't listen to it after it's done. I will always sit there and think about the mistakes I made in a setting as opposed to everything that might have gone well. Hey, you did a great job. I don't know about that. I flubbed this, and this.
Sure.
I've always, we're all our own worst critics.
Yep.
So when it comes to mentees, I don't know if when they're, teenagers, I imagine that they're thinking the same things, peer pressure, and we've gotten into that too, being a part of it. But it's just trying to, I would imagine, steer them away from a natural thing while they're trying to compete. It seems like, you want to drag them away from that idea of, you are good if you continue to apply yourself. Don't get wrapped up in all of that negativity because it can affect you the other way if it's not a motivator. And so I would imagine that you and Greg are having these conversations about trying to make sure that you use that kind of insecurity and try to turn it into a positive instead of having it weigh someone down who's so young.
Totally. Absolutely. And there's always two ways to look at everything. And that's absolutely one of the things that we talk mentees a lot about, because it's so easy to come off a game and say, hey, I wasn't good enough. I did this wrong. I did that wrong. And, that's why we try and tell them, hey, think about some positives first. And then, you automatically know the negatives. You remember the negatives. They're in there. But force yourself to focus on some of these positive things and use them as motivation rather than, straight negatives of, oh, you weren't good enough. Oh, this is room for improvement. Oh, here's how I can get better for next game. Here's what I need to do better, this week in preparation for next week, those types of things. So yeah, for sure. They're all motivating factors, but you have to be willing to look at it, accept it, see it, and learn from it and grow from it. Because otherwise, we can't take those next steps for sure.
How willing are mentees these days?
Pretty willing.
Okay.
I think so. They most of them want to get better, right? That's why they're working with Greg and I. And so they are great when we're watching video together, and we're pointing things out to say, hey, maybe do this, maybe do that. Right? We talk about different plays and why we did this or why we do that or what else to look for. So I think that they're willing to learn and grow, which is amazing. I tell them, like, hey, that's one of your biggest qualities in life is be coachable, right? Be open-minded and coachable, and it can take you a long way. Even professional soccer players need to be open-minded. I've talked about this before when I joined Atlanta United and Tata was playing so much different than I had ever played before. And it was uncomfortable, right? And be open-minded to the concepts and what we're doing, right? And how do I have success within this system? But most of the mentees, I think, adapt really well to that.
Okay. Since you mentioned it, I'll open the door. MLS is back. They'll take it from here.
Yes.
And they're in Atlanta's in Nashville tonight. And Nashville, with their Hydra, for lack of a better word, when it comes to Surridge and Hani Mukhtar and now Christian Espinoza, that's a tall order for a team that is instrumenting change. There are some players that are going to be coming in to help out at the back, but they're at the mercy of the lawyers and the governments at the moment. And it should be maybe a week or so before those new faces start coming in. But you're having the younger players that we've seen from their time from the academy. They're stepping up. Cooper Sanchez, who we're going to hear from in a bit. He's on the U20 roster. You're seeing Jay Fortune, Matt Edwards, Will Riley, all of these younger players that have come up through the academy helping out as a part of this process. It's a team in transition right now, but you get a fresh start in a very difficult environment where you might be a little shorthanded with injuries and such. What do you think about the second half of the season here for United?
Yeah, it's a tough game to start for sure. But honestly, I think it's better for these younger players to play away. Right? When you're at home, you've got this pressure of, a big crowd, and they're expecting you to be at the front and, dominate and, create opportunities. But when you're on the road, it's okay to sit back and absorb pressure and counterattack. And, if you have 30% possession, okay, if you can still be dangerous with that 30% possession. So, I'm going to turn it and look at a positive that, hey, maybe being on the road is helpful for these players. But also I think that Nashville are going to be the favorites in this game for sure. So
no question.
Hey, there's nothing to lose here. You can go out and dig deep. And like we talked about, Cape Verde and Egypt against Argentina. And, there's so many countless games in the World Cup where you look at it and you're like, wow, that team almost pulled it off, or they pulled it off, or they drew, or whatever. And it's like, yeah.
DR Congo against Argentina, where they were trading haymakers and all this. You've got so tonight, to answer your question, yes, Nashville is a prohibitive favorite, and they are at a minus 190 in the juice boxes. So that they are a prohibitive type favorites. I believe, as I sit here and scan for the games in the midweek also, because they have their preliminary juice boxes out. That is the largest favorite on the board, and Nashville is also the largest home favorite on the board in the midweek when Montreal goes and plays there at Geodis. So that is, yes, so they are a large favorite, but understandably so with what they're able to do on offense, especially.
But I do think that the bigger picture for the second half, I think that Atlanta United are obviously making some changes and want to give it a go. So it hasn't been good, no doubt.
Yeah.
But this is a team that can still make the playoffs and can still get there and do something in the playoffs. I still think that there's more moves to come.
Yeah, they are.
So I think everything's still there to play for. And I think that the pressure should still be on them to, hey, this is a playoff team. Let's not settle that the season's not over.
Right.
That's what I'm saying.
Yep. Looking at the numbers to get into the playoffs, literally you're 8 points out of a playoff spot. So it's 4 wins. I mean, you probably are going to have to average 2 points a match between now and the end of the year, but you've also got a match in hand. So if you take care of that match in hand wherever, that puts you 5 points out of a playoff spot. So, I mean, that's navigable if you take care of business with that match in hand. All right. So now that Deacon has been staring at you, wondering when you're going to stop talking, what is going on at Beyond Goals Mentoring now that we're kind of getting back into school? What's the latest with BGM?
Yeah, quiet summer, which has been really nice. Greg's been traveling here, there, and everywhere with his boys. So I've got a camp here in Columbus with Darlington Nagby and Jonathan Mensah. So we're doing a captain's camp where we're talking about leadership stuff as well as on the field working with kids. So I'm excited about that.
You're going to get Darlington to actually say more than 3 words in a sentence?
Yes, I will.
Good.
100%.
Excellent.
Yes. I think he's got a birthday coming up this week. This weekend.
Yeah. What do you get the man that says nothing?
A GIF. Not a gift. Send him a GIF.
Get him like the Bryan Cranston mic drop GIF or something.
Yes.
Like, yes, here, use that and see what you think I'm trying to mean by all this kind of stuff. As always, my friend, it's great to see you. Great to catch up with you and pick your brain about anything and everything going on in and around the planet. Who's going to win on Sunday?
I mean, Spain should win. But Argentina just refused to lose.
Yep.
They just refused to lose.
Yes.
I do think that I'll be surprised if Argentina can win this game.
Okay.
If I had to put money on anything, I'd put it on Spain. But
you want to put
just
somebody else?
cannot count those Argentines out.
No. And I want the pictures of you in that mosh pit over here at Mercedes-Benz. Like I said, as always, my friend, it's great to see you. We'll catch up soon, and enjoy the rest of your weekend, and we'll catch up with you before you know it.
Sounds good. See you, John.
There goes Parky. Got us our E rating for the Friday. That's $1 in the jar. Nicely done by Parky. All right, so here's the MLS section of the program. And Atlanta and Nashville, we talk about that one. And we know what Nashville brings to the table. Once again, we know that offense is top-notch. We know that offense is 31 goals, and the defense, the defense being is underrated, and I think it's underappreciated. 11 goals allowed for Nashville to this point of the season. 6-0-1 at Geodis, no surprise. But in 7 matches, I mean, literally in 14 matches, period, they've given up 11 goals, period. And so when you have an offense that is at 31 goals, let me check here. So they're number 3 in the East, and they are 4-5. I think they're the 5th highest. They're the 5th highest rated offense in the league at 31 goals scored. I think they're the number 5 offense in Major League Soccer at present. Obviously, Messi and friends are at number 1. Cincinnati, surprisingly, is at number 2. 36 goals scored, but they've also given up 37. So they are number 2 at 36. Vancouver and San Jose are at 34. And then that leads you to Nashville at number 5 at 31. But when it comes to their defense, this is what we don't talk about a whole lot. Defensive numbers for Nashville. 11 goals allowed this season. Obviously, that's number 1 in the East. And that is also number 1 in Major League Soccer. Vancouver, with Takaoka in that, they've given up 12. So that's how close it is to the goals allowed part of the program. Number 1 in defense when it comes to goals allowed. And so then you get into the defensive stats. We'll talk about the offensive stats in a bit, and then we'll talk about Atlanta United too. Alex, that's a good question. What's Tata's version of FEA? I know, really. I got to find my FEA t-shirt, as a matter of fact. So you look at the numbers for Nashville. Number 1 in points in the league. Number 1 in goals allowed, least in goals allowed, obviously. Goal difference, you're, I think, number 2 in goal difference. You've conceded 3 penalties so far. When it comes to fouls, you don't foul a whole lot. Literally, you are middle of the pack when it comes to fouls. So you don't foul a whole lot. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. Of course, everything slides on me here. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18, 20, 22. You're 22nd in fouls committed. And you are fairly commensurate when it comes to, so 30, 20, 20. You're 25th in cards. So basically, you're 25th in yellow cards with 26. And you are 22nd in fouls called on you as a defense. So then when you get into Nashville and the defensive numbers, once again, so you look at shots against. Nashville is way down there. They don't give up a lot of shots. They are next to last in the league in shots allowed. Next to last in the league in shots allowed. 30 teams, they are 29th in shots allowed. So they don't give up a whole lot of shots. They average giving up 5 shots a game. 5. So it's No, well, actually, it's less. It's better than that because shots against, 55 shots in X number of matches. So hang on just a second. So I'm getting my math done. It's like, and I'm sorry, DR Congo, I don't think was a part of what we've seen. So, all right. So Nashville, 14 matches, 55 shots. So that is 4.5 shots a match. Well, actually, 4 is 56. So they give up 4 shots a match. 4 shots a match. Morning, Jordan. And tonight, with a team that doesn't foul a lot on average, a team that doesn't get a lot of cards on average, and a team that doesn't allow a lot of shots, this is going to be the challenge for Atlanta United. And Jason and the Hoff talked about this in their pregame thought patterns. And it is trying to make sure that you can't, Nashville doesn't want to create any lanes for you to shoot. So for Atlanta, conversely, you're going to want to spread things out. You're going to want to make things go sideways to create gaps so you can have folks who can create cut inside. So that's what you're looking at for, at least from a surface standpoint. Nashville gives up 4 shots a game, haven't given up a lot of goals, less than a goal a match, and they don't foul. They don't foul a whole lot, and they don't get carded a whole lot. So the key for Atlanta, like we saw in the matchup in the friendly against Sporting Kansas City, spacing. Don't turn this into bumper cars, because in confined space, that should benefit Nashville in not allowing any shots to be taken, or if there are shots taken, then you end up with block shots. And so Lynn is asking about the attack and what we'll look at with the younger players. And we'll hear from Cooper Sanchez in a bit. So spacing, have Nashville work for it from sideline to sideline to create opportunities for your offensive players with pace to cut inside, to be able to take advantage of the lanes that you create by being wide. Don't have folks in the same amount of space bumping into each other, because all that does is benefit Nashville and their tight defensive structure anyway. And we'll go over the last starting lineup that Nashville had just to give you a reference point coming up here in a bit. So you look at all of these defensive numbers from Nashville, only giving up 4 shots a match. Saves percentage, that's not correct. It's like Atlanta, 194.4. I don't quite think that's close. But when it comes to clearances, Nashville kind of middle of the pack, maybe lower half. 99 clearances in 14 matches. So you're looking at, say, 7 clearances per match. Mention the number of fouls that they've not really committed. And once again, fouls, they're actually below Atlanta in number of fouls that they've committed. They average 14 into 156. So that's what, 11 fouls a match, 4 shots allowed, just to give you an idea. And Atlanta doesn't foul a whole lot either. So you may not see a whole lot of fouls. We'll get into the ref crewing and we'll let you know what it looks like for calling a match like this. So we'll get into who's in the middle and what it looks like when it comes to what to expect in the matchup tonight. So that's what you're looking at defensively from Nashville. So Nashville, once again, like I said, they're locked down defensively. They play it tightly, and they are just insane with what BJ Callahan and that crew has been able to give you this season when it comes to Nashville SC. Now, let's get into the lineup that they had last time. And like I said, we're also talking 54 days ago, but it gives us a way to stare at what Nashville brings to the table in a lineup sense. So last time out, they're on a 3-game win streak. They beat NYC 2-1. They beat LA 3-2. Shut out the Revs 3-0. So last time out against NYC, your lineup was Espinoza, Mukhtar, and Warren Madrigal up top. And so this is, once again, you're getting ready for World Cup and things like that. But it also speaks to the depth that they have on their roster. Midfield 3 was Kasem, Acosta, and Matt Corcoran. Your back 4, Lovitz, Waleji, Palacios, and Reed Baker-Whiting, which was a sneaky good pickup for them in this season. And so then obviously your subs, and boy, did you have you had a short bench last time that you played NYC, or last time that you were out. Surge, Muil, Burnett, Bauer, Joe Willis, your backup keeper, Jack Marr, Jordan Knight, Shaq Muhammad, Wubens Pacius. That was your roster last time out against NYC. So then we go back to the matchup against LAFC, which is probably a better indicator. Hani Mukhtar had the hat trick, and this goes back to May 17th. So the lineup then against LAFC, Mukhtar had the hat trick, Martinez and Bouanga scored, and it was 3-2 your final. So your lineup then, once again without Sam Surridge, Espinoza, Mukhtar, Madrigal up top, Kasem, Acosta, Corcoran, Baker-Whiting, Palacios, Waleji, and Lovitz. Once again, coming off the bench, Muil, Pacius, Bauer, Muhammad. Your bench that wasn't used, Brunette, Williams, Jordan Knight, Jack Mayer, and Joe Willis. So then we'll go back another match, and this is how they're navigating without Sam Surridge. When they shut out the Revs 3-0, this was back on May the 13th, schedule compression and all that stuff. So lineup then, you had Madrigal and Mukhtar up top. It was listed as a 4-4-2. Backline, Baker-Whiting, Waleji, Palacios, and Andy Nahart right back. Kasem, Corcoran playing more in a midfield position. Acosta, Espinosa, Corcoran, and Kasem were your 4 midfielders. Madrigal and Mukhtar up top in a 4-4-2 with Schwaki in net. So that's what you were looking at once again, as they've been navigating without Sam Surridge. Lovitz, Muil, Burnett, Bauer, Pacius came in as subs. Then you had Shaq Muhammad, Jordan Knight, Jack Mayer, Joe Willis. That was your breakdown. So that's what you're looking at from Nashville for a lineup. The report for Atlanta United, the 2 players that have been brought in we're still waiting on whether or not we're waiting on the visa process. And so what that means is they were thinking that some might be ready by the end of this week, but not obviously match ready to be able to participate tonight. So looking at Atlanta coming in, Ignacio Suarez Corey has been signed to a short-term agreement to help out on the roster side. Junior Alonso and Paulo Diaz, once again, they're processing their visas. Stian Gregerson is questionable with a quad injury. Sergio Santos is out with a calf. Those are the only ones that were mentioned on the fitness report, the availability report. So then you extrapolate that, and you're looking at the back, and we talked about this yesterday. What does it look like at the back? Does it mean you're probably in a perfect world are going to have a combination of, if you stick to the 4-2-3-1, But if they have 2 attackers, you're probably going to have your 6 drift back and be in a back 5 at times. It's probably some combination of, depending on the health of Stian Gregerson, Baez, Matt Edwards, Gregerson, Ronald Hernandez, and Tomas Jakob. So somewhere in that combination. 2 in front of them, probably, once again, some combination. It probably is Tristan Muyumba and Cooper Sanchez. Then you would, or Jay Fortune, and then you would have in your midfield either Cooper or Jay, and then the other question up top. Obviously, you'd have Miguel Almiron. What does it look on the left? Where does Alexi go? Where does Miggy go? Is Latte Lot on the right-hand side? And is your winger, Jay? Is it Luke? That's what you're trying to figure out. So brought up Ignacio Suarez-Corey as part of the short-term agreements that you have. And keep an eye on that. Obviously, that means that Ignacio Suarez-Corey is not available for Atlanta United 2 for their matchup in Huntsville on Saturday night. Well, he might be, because Huntsville is probably just an hour and a half down the road. So depending on number of minutes, Ignacio Suarez-Corey gets the engine warm in Nashville tonight, goes down the road to be a part of things in Huntsville on Saturday night. We'll have that one for you on the network, and that one will be at 7:30 pregame, 8 o'clock, shortly after 8 Eastern kick, Atlanta United 2, Huntsville City Football Club. I'll have the call for you on the network on that one. So that is your 2s/first team update. So, I mean, Lynn, what we're seeing from Cooper and Jay, and we're going to play that interview, so this gives me a chance to play this. Jason caught up with Cooper Sanchez, and if you missed Atlanta Soccer Tonight last night, it was an opportunity for Jason to catch up with Cooper, because Cooper has had a very, very busy, a very, very fruitful, and a very, very busy and successful time involved with his summer of soccer, Atlanta Soccer, if I could spell soccer, Atlanta Soccer Tonight last night. So Jason caught up with Cooper Sanchez last night on Atlanta Soccer Tonight. Here's a part of that interview discussing how very, very busy Cooper's summer of soccer has been.
We caught up at national team camp. You had a very strong camp with the U.S. U19s. What did you take away from that experience with the group?
Yeah, it was my first time with the 07s now in a camp, so playing in Europe for the first time. Obviously, I've played against a lot of them from the academy days, because I always played with the 2007s, so getting to see some of them and actually get to play with them now was a great experience. And the facility and out in Fayetteville made it even better. I mean, it's like everything you could ask for. Every resource is available there. Top class facility. So no, it was a fun camp, and getting to play against, a team like Japan as well, for them to come to Georgia was a great experience as well. And we got to eat, lunch with them after, and
cool.
Connect and bond with, different countries and stuff like that. So
that was a really fun match. I mean, Japanese football is so fascinating to me in the way that they play. And it seems like the way that you play, and in our conversations, the way you see the game, you would bond on the field with Japanese players pretty well.
Yeah, I agree. I'd say they're very technical, very smart players. They, know when to move. They're always, looking at each other, kind of in like correspondent. Like even our coach Gonzalo was saying, it's like almost like a ballerina set. Like they're always looking at each other, moving off of each other. And yeah, they're very, very smart and technical players. And I've played against them, I think, 3 times now. And it's been the kind of the same play style every time. They want to have the ball, they want to play, and, they're not afraid to do that. So yeah, I would agree. I think I would bond with them.
We've had this conversation about Atlanta United, and I think it's something that I've talked about a lot this summer with the U.S. men's national team, and a play style and a consistent style of play, and something that you can replicate. Do you feel like with what you're seeing in national team camps and what you saw from the senior team in the World Cup, that the U.S. is getting closer to that kind of play style that is consistent across all levels.
Yeah, I would say definitely since Pochettino took over, there's been kind of a change in, from the men's team down to, our teams, in terms of, always wanting to have the ball, wanting to, be on the front foot, like be the protagonist, and then without the ball, like being relentless, like always pressing, always wanting to get the ball back, things like that. And I think it's trickled down to, us, and you can see it in the way we played against Japan and as well as the men's team during the World Cup.
And there you go with Cooper Sanchez. More of the interview over at 92.9 The Game and the Odyssey app. Go to 929thegame.com and you can check out the podcast section. Go to 929thegame.com, click podcast, go to Off the Woodwork, and the Atlanta Soccer Tonight episodes are all there. And so sometimes if it's a late night ending, it might take a little bit longer in the day to get the interview up and running. But nevertheless, it is there for you. Go to the Off the Woodwork podcast section, 929thegame.com, and the Odyssey app, and you get to see what's going on every single day with Jason. He's not going to be, at least I don't think, tonight. I don't think there is an Atlanta Soccer Tonight. Let me go to my Morning Espresso newsletter, and if you also have not subscribed to the Morning Espresso, then please do so. You can go to soccerdownhere.net, and you drift down the page. You go to read. There'll be a box that pops up. You just enter your email address. Once again, thanks to our friends at Kaiser Permanente. They are the presenting sponsor of the Morning Espresso newsletter. And it is everything that Jason finds in his search engines. Jason actually is his own search engine, frankly. So everything that Jason finds, he will share with you every single morning. It's in your inbox, and it's your way to start the day. It's our morning newsletter. And so allegedly kicking off tonight at 8. My guess is that it's probably going to be 8:25 or something. So here's Jason's look at the match. Miguel Almiron back, obviously thin at the back. And then Miguel, when he was asked about it, after the first 14 matches, Miguel said, first thing we have to change is the attitude and the ambition. We have to want more as a group. Tata Martino says we're not just focused on facing the opponent who's up next on the schedule. We're also continuing to work on our team, facing the challenges that we're working on overcoming as a group. And then in the international break, into the World Cup break, Alexei Miranchuk's been a bit of a false nine. Latte Lata's been out wide. And so it's going to be interesting to see what happens. Remember the Ronald Hernandez banger that got the win for Atlanta United last year, looking for the same result this time around. But get this. Geodis Park has not seen a loss since that Ronald Hernandez banger last year. So that's the early part and the early info of all of this. So last night, we'll work backward. Last night in Major League Soccer, it was a long night in Seattle. We talked about it with Nico Moreno yesterday. And they were going to have issues with injuries. We'll go over the starting lineup in just a bit, but it was a long night. It was a long night for Seattle last night. I will tell you that right now. And here, so to prove it to you, here are your highlights from last night, and it's all very one-sided. It is all very one-sided, considering what went down last night in Seattle. We can call it Lumen now, but it was a very, very busy night for Portland in a good way. It was a very, very busy night for the home team in Seattle in a bad way. Callum and Kalen on the call, courtesy of our friends at Apple TV. And yes, the highlights are just as one-sided.
You need characters like that on nights like tonight where we'll have the manager. Responsibility needs to come from within the team, and Chara has the experience.
Flurry of Timbers manoeuvring forward, and Kelsey has scored. Well, Jack Cassidy said he wouldn't expect today to be perfect, but that's a pretty perfect opening 18 minutes for Portland Timbers. And first blood is Rose City Reds. So De Costa and Lassiter over the ball. Towards the back post they do go. By across the face of goal, it goes, it's 2! Kamal Miller with the goal. Chara into Bassett. Kelsey and the Timbers in full flow. De Costa looking to make it 3. It's David De Costa. And towards goal it goes, it is 3! Here's De Costa. Down the line for Anthony. The matchday results presented by AT&T. But Anthony's in here! Very good save, but it's scrambled in for 4! And Portland once more. De Costa. Space opened up for him. De Costa's in behind. And it will be 5! Alexander Aravena with his first goal for Portland Timbers.
5-1. And literally it was 4-0. Then Hassani Dotson, who Nico said was going to be getting some minutes, got minutes, got a goal in the 87th. And then Aravena scored at 90+8. Largest home loss ever. Worst home defeat in MLS history. First time Sounders have allowed 5 goals at home in 17 years. Jack Cassidy makes his debut as interim coach for Seattle Sounders. And it's a 5-1 win there. 3 goals in a 7-minute span. 3 goals in a 7-minute span for Seattle. Miller in the 56th, Bassett in the 60th, Kevin Kelsey, his brace in the 63rd. And so that was the late night game. In other news, there was supposed to be a game in Chicago, and we talked about it off the top, where because of the Canadian wildfires, just the air quality was it was not safe to have any kind of activity, much less athletic activity in Chicago. Same for New York right now. And so the matchup with Chicago and Vancouver that was anticipated at Soldier Field, which was supposed to be the grand unveiling of Robert Lewandowski, did not happen. They had 40,000 tickets sold, and it was an opportunity to show off the new player, but they didn't quite get to do it. Fire had to pay FC Cincinnati $350,000 in GAM this year for an international spot to clear Lewandowski for the debut. And it was obviously once again delayed till October the 6th because of the Canadian wildfires. But yeah, Chicago Fire had to pay FC Cincinnati $350,000 in 26 GAM for the international spot to clear Lewandowski. So everything is now copacetic with Robert Lewandowski being a part of the Chicago, the Chicago Fire. We mentioned yesterday Kai Wagner was going to be brought back on a DP deal just under $4 million. And now the club is going to have 3 left backs earning over $300,000, and you have a U22 spot on Philippe Ndinga. So you bring back Kai Wagner because you need help defensively, and now you've got a bit of a logjam, and you've got a bit of a salary issue at that particular position. So we'll see what happens with Philadelphia. Oh, one other note with Seattle last night. Jordan Morris forced off at the half, ice on his right quad, because there was a point where he was sitting down on the field and did not make it out past halftime. And so Jordan Morris is going to have an injury monitored because of, once again, you're in schedule compression. We talked about that with our friend Nico Moreno yesterday, that you're having to navigate schedule compression and you're going to navigate all of the injuries that are attached as well. And so you have that to look at. The other game that was played was in St. Louis at the park that keeps running and running and running. And it was the way to start the night after the goalless draw in Canadian Classique. Jess Charman and Ian Joy were on the call. No goals, Toronto and Montreal. So that got us to the second match of the night, and it's St. Louis City SC and Sporting Kansas City, and this one went for a while before they had an answer as to who was going to get full points. Once again, Apple TV and MLS, Nate Bacady and our friend Devin Kerr on the call.
There's a ball chipped into the area, and it's knotted down right at the doorstep. Jansen Miller, that St. Louis native, doesn't get the clearance very far. Back into the area, Cleveland punches. It falls to Song Bin, who turns it home. Now, is there a whistle? Cleveland's claiming he was fouled. St. Louis have a goal. Song Bin. Giveaway by James, and here comes Betcher. He's driving forward. He finds Hartle. Hartle takes a touch and puts it through the legs of the keeper and in.
He's got decent enough speed, and that's why he's so flexible in nature where he can play.
Uh-oh, here's a giveaway. It's Joveljic. Joveljic makes no mistake about it. Calamity at the back for St. Louis. Joveljic, the grateful recipient, and we are all level, 2 apiece.
After review, number 23 handles the ball in the penalty area. Final decisions of
Ethan Bartlow had just subbed into the game. Leuven versus Cleveland in a rivalry match to try to put St. Louis back in front. Leuven, bottom corner, 3-2 St. Louis.
And that would be your final 3-2 in that matchup with St. Louis City and Sporting Kansas City. Goals once again. 28, Zhang in the 28th, Marcel Hartel Holiday in the 36th. Capita, and if you haven't seen it, it's probably going to be goal of the week consideration. 2-1 at the break. Joveljic scores on a turnover inside the 18 or just outside the 18. 76 minute tied at 2. Then Edward Lewin from the spot in the 86th, 3-2 your final. And St. Louis City gets the win at home at Energizer Park. Alan Chapman was in the middle for that one. So now that gets us to the matchups tonight and said crews that are going to be attached to this game. So let's go to our pro and find out who is in the middle for this matchup. And let's see, pro referees. So let's see if we have, if we could spell pro referees, I think we'd be doing all right. So pro referees in this matchup. So let's see if we have everyone who is lined up and ready to go. They only posted the matchups from yesterday. So here's what we're going to do. When we don't have them there, shoot. All right, so I'm trying to remember the website. Hello, John. Website. That's where we go. ProReferees.com. And you get the layout of, let's see. So, all right. So now we have the 3 groups for the Men's World Cup in the IFCFP. And so we will we'll have that discussion coming up here at the top of the hour. All right, so MLS assignments, match day 16. Okay, so the 2 matchups tonight, Philip Dujic is in the middle. However, Philip Dujic in the middle, Cameron Blanchard, Jeff Schwartzel are your ARs. Lorenzo Hernandez is your 4th. Eunice Maracci and Tom Supple are upstairs. We'll look at Philip Dujic's numbers in a bit. LAG and LAFC listed at 10:25 Eastern. Rubiel Vasquez is in the middle. Jeremy Hansen, Jose da Silva are your ARs. Eligio Adeguin is your 4th. Edvin Jurasevich and Jonathan Johnson are upstairs. So, okay, let's look at Philip Dujic's numbers here in 2026. So we go to our friends at Who Scored, And after they dance us around a little bit, we need referee statistics. It's like literally you get the ref stats, but then they give you 2023 as your default year, and that's not what you're looking for. So you are looking at Filip Dujic, who has called 9 matches this season, and he is 8th in fouls called at 27 of individuals who have more than 3 matches called this season, because you have Brandon Stevens, who's called 2, Joshua Encarnacion, who has called 2, Remy Touchon, who has called 3, and Rodrigo Albuquerque, who has only called 1 match. If you take those out of the equation, then Filip Dujic is 4th in Major League Soccer in fouls called per match at 27. Fouls per tackle at .87 puts him tied for 10th. Penalties, he has called a few. He's called 2 penalties. Well, he's called .44. So he's called 4 penalties in 9 matches. So keep an eye out on that. Then yellows per match, he is 12th, so upper third at 4 1/3. So 39 yellows in 9 matches. And he is 4th in fouls called. So you have a team in Nashville that doesn't foul a whole lot, doesn't get a whole lot of yellows, with an official who is 4th in the league in fouls called per match and isn't afraid to give cards. Upper third at 4.33. And literally it's just like, one way or the other. Dujic is 8th in the number of yellows administered. Drew Fisher, because of the match that he had last night, Rubiel Vasquez with the matchup that he has coming up tonight, and Victor Rivas, they've all been double digits, as has Ismail Elfath. So Filip Dujic, 8th out of 32. So upper quarter in yellows per match. And he has given 2 reds so far this season. So 4 penalties, 2 reds, 8th in yellow cards, and 4th in standard MLS officials who have reffed more than 3 matches this year. If you really wanted to get into like regular time when it comes to fouls per match, literally you could go as high as 3. Ricardo Fierro's had 4 in the middle at 33 1/4. Eligio Adeguin, 5 in the middle for 29. Alexis De Silva, 9 matches in 28. Filip Dujic, 9 matches in 27. So 4th, 3rd in that zone someplace. But Ricardo Fierro's kind of like the left-hand side of the bell curve. He's got 33 1/4 fouls called per match, but then it doesn't even back out until 29. Adeguin at 29, Alexis De Silva at 28, Filip Dujic at 27. So in league, he's called a lot of fouls so far this season. Called a lot of matches, a lot of fouls by comparison. Not afraid to show yellows. 4 penalties also issued in 9 matches. So that's the stuff to keep an eye on with Filip Dujic, with him as the man in the middle so far this season. So that's the rundown there. So keep an eye out for what to anticipate tonight for those of you that might be watching, might be heading north, all of those things to kind of keep an eye out for what you're staring at when it comes to Major League Soccer tonight. Once again, these 2 matchups clear the way for everything that's going on in the third place match and in the championship match this weekend. So once again, quickly, just so you've got your juice boxes for the weekend, France favored -110 tomorrow in Miami, 5 o'clock Eastern kick. Draws a +285, and England is a +280. So England is a decided underdog in this matchup at a +280. So you've got that to keep an eye on. The opening date of Dylan Butler Estates and Etihad Park is now official. July 17, 2027, 7/17/27. Brad Sims said it's 12 to 13 years in the making. 25,000 seats next to Citi Field. It's going to host matches in the Olympics. Gotham's moving there in 28. Remember, they had the sellout next door in Citi Field. And so keep an eye out for all of that. We now have a start date for Dillon Butler Estates. And so you're looking at that as the rest of your news out of Major League Soccer. Lindsay Heaps is going to be getting her first start for Denver this weekend in the NWSL. So if you want to watch the Denver Summit, please do. Most watched World Cup in the history of English language broadcasting. Argentina's win over England, over 15 million viewers on Big FOX, peaking at just over 22 million. Beat a record set one day earlier when Spain's win over France had almost 11.5 million. Semifinal average in 2022 for Big FOX, 6.5. UK, the match peaked at 24 million, 85% share. Averaged 22 million across BBC One and iPlayer. Spanish language side, averaging 5.9 million viewers through the quarters, up 150%. Digital viewership up 309%. FIFA selected Slovenian referee Slavko Vincic to officiate the final after working Brazil, Morocco, Algeria, Jordan, and Mexico and Ecuador in the round of 32. Bastian Dankert is going to serve as VAR. The number 10 shirt Pele wore in the 1958 World Cup final sold at Sotheby's for just under $5 million. Most ever paid for a piece of Pele memorabilia. Second most expensive match-worn shirt ever. $9.3 million for the Hand of God shirt with Maradona back in 22. Brad Sims also said yesterday when he was announcing the beginning of Dillon Butler Estates, they're not chasing Pulisic. They're interested. AC Milan has given no indication they'll sell. Pulisic is under contract through June of 27. Like I said, we had mentioned the Cody Baker transfer to New England yesterday. You can go back and listen to that conversation with our friend Nico Moreno from Pulso Sports. Detroit City, Ronan Capital Partners founder Jay Farner is investing the most so far in the $150 million, 15,000-seater that is going to be their new place of stadium. The $200 million mixed-use development center opening ahead of the 28 USL Championship season. Remember, that is on the grounds of a long-since abandoned hospital complex right off the interstate. So here's the rundown of what to pay attention to. Once again tonight, 7 o'clock, Abe and Maddie, 92.9 The Game in the Odyssey app, setting the table, 8:25 kick for Atlanta United and Nashville SC with Mike and Jason. Abe and Maddie after for the full-time report. Sunday at 6, Atlanta Soccer Tonight from the Brew House in Soto. Match playing across Soto's venues and out in the park at Founders Green. And if you missed it, Jason caught up with Tom Hindle from Goal to talk about the last 60 years. It's been very, very cool. So if you have a couple of minutes, then I would suggest going and reading that Goal piece, goal.com, and you can catch up with Jason being interviewed by Tom Hindle. Now, other news, notes, gossip, innuendo, what to watch, where to watch it, how to watch it, as always brought to us by our friends at Fanatis, fntz.co/soccer down here. That link is important. Helps us out, helps them out, helps you out. Getting you places that you might not have had access before when it comes to streaming everything in and around this here planet of ours. When you get into Fanatis, you get Teisei and their coverage out of Argentina. Liga 1 Max Pro out of Peru. You get Teisei's coverage of the Copa Argentina. You also get their coverage of TVV out of Venezuela as an add-on. But if you have the Spanish-speaking package on a certain cable system, it's already there. CDO Plus out of Chile, and all the BNs. And I mean all the BNs. Ties to Tigo Sports and CATV. A lot of the A and B divisions that you might not necessarily have had access to in the past. Last night was also the beginning of the Clausura for Liga MX. If you missed John Arnold's preview of that, go and follow and like and become a part of his Get CONCACAF family. Had a big rundown on social media about what you might be missing this weekend. So all of those things with the BNs, you get Middle East, you get North Africa, you get their European coverage with what is going on in France, in Poland, and in Turkey. I always forget a third one. I can always remember 2 of the 3, but I can't remember the 3. So you get those leagues, you get all the things, and you get to find out what's going on in North Africa. WAFCON coming up, I think, in about a week. And Temo Shawinga, it was announced she is going home to represent her home country in WAFCON. So she'll be away from Kansas City Current during the WAFCON tourney. Then you get all the qualifiers for World Cups and other championships, regardless of age group. It's all there on Fanatics through the BNs at fntz.co/soccer down here. So today, it is on CBS Sports Network. League One goes to Boise tonight. CBS Sports Network. 9:30, Boise hosting Portland Hearts of Pine, CBS Sports Network. MLS doubleheader 8:10 and 10:25. I'll believe it when I see it. I'm thinking it might be more like 8:25 and 10:40, but it's on FS1. It's also on Big FOX. 2TN, Liga MX, León and Atlas at 9 o'clock. Universo has Juarez and Puebla at 11. Apple TV has the matchups with Nashville, Atlanta, LAG, and LAFC. Fox O&E has your doubleheader. Fox Soccer Plus and One Soccer has the Canadian Premier League, Atletico Ottawa and Inter Toronto. And that's at 7 o'clock. Women tonight on Prime, Kansas City and San Diego. That's at 8 on Amazon. ESPN Plus has the Northern Super League at 9 o'clock, Calgary and Montreal. Tomorrow, big CBS at noon, USL Championship, Pittsburgh and Lou City. Big FOX has the third-place match, France and England. That's at 5 o'clock. Golazo Network, late night, has USL Championship, Phoenix and Monterey Bay. Fox Soccer Plus and also One Soccer has Cavalry and Halifax Wanderers at 3 o'clock. Telemundo has the third-place match with France and England. Then they have Guadalajara and Toluca at 9:07 on Telemundo. 2TN has Sábado Futbolero, Pumas Pachuca, Monterrey Santos Laguna, Querétaro and Club America, 7, 9, and 11 o'clock. Universo, Guadalajara, Toluca, 9:07. Univision, Monterrey and Santos Laguna at 9, Querétaro and America at 11. Amazon Prime has Liga MX, Guadalajara, Toluca, 9:07. USL Championship, 7 matches on ESPN Plus, 3 at 7, 2 at 7:30, 8:30, and 9. USL League O&E, 3 matches at 7 o'clock, 1 at 7:30, and 1 at 8, Union Omaha and Westchester. Fox O&E has the World Cup at 5, and the Canadian Premier League leading into that, Cavalry and Halifax at 3. And One Football, MLS Next Pro, and the MLS YouTube channel. MLS Next Pro, 3, 6, 8 matches on Saturday, including Huntsville City and Atlanta United. The video version, we'll have the audio for you. Paramount Plus, Scottish League Cup, Aberdeen and Queen's Park at noon. Dundee United and Arbroath at 2. Then USL Championship has noon and 10:30. Pittsburgh, Lou City, Phoenix Rising, Monterey Bay. Big ABC has the NWSL, Gotham and Seattle at noon. CBS after that has 2 more matches. Denver, Portland. That's the unveiling of Lindsay Heaps. Bay and North Carolina Courage is at 4 o'clock. Ion picks it up after that. 6:30, Chicago, Angel City. 8:45, Utah and Orlando. Tubi simulcasting those matches. ESPN Deportes simulcasting Gotham and Seattle in NWSL at noon. NWSL Plus racing Louisville, Houston Dash at 8. Paramount Plus has 2 NWSL games at 2 and 4. Victory Plus, and there's an article on Victory Plus and the NWSL's relationship with them at The Athletic. Victory Plus has Utah and Orlando at 8:45. That gets us to Sunday. World Cup final, Big FOX, Telemundo, 3 matches in MLS Next Pro after the World Cup final's over, 6, 8:30, 6, 8, and 9:30, and then the Victory Plus Boston and Washington Spirit. So that is what to watch, where to watch it, how to watch it. Brought to us by our friends at Fanatics at fntz.co/soccer down here. So that is the rundown of all of the stuff coming up this weekend. Now, what about the players? What about the gossip? What's going on? Who might be going where? We're going to find out what's going on. There is no weather concern, apparently, for the World Cup final, according to sources. We put that word in quotation marks. That is attached to the World Cup folks. So no weather concern for the World Cup final. So keep an eye out for that on Sunday afternoon. World Cup winners are getting championship rings now. this was made clear as well that championship rings are going to be given to the players and, I guess, important personnel that are attached to the clubs when they go ahead and win. And that thing's got a lot of diamonds. It's very, very shiny. Very, very shiny. Transfer talk happened earlier this morning, so we'll check with our friends also, Ben Jacobs and Tom Bogert, to see if we missed anything before the CEO of the International Federation of Cerebral Palsy Football will join us coming up at 11 o'clock after their draw. It is Ashley Hammond, the CEO of the IFCPF, joining us at 11 o'clock. So quickly, transfer notes and rumors. Arsenal set to accelerate their efforts to complete a deal for Morgan Rogers from Villa. Priority as they look to sign a winger, according to Fabrizio Romano. Talks advanced on the 23-year-old side, separate from what Club Brugge is doing with Christos Solis. Arsenal always wanted to sign both wide players. No talks for Bradley Barcola from PSG. Spurs' Pedro Porro has impressed Barcelona, reports Mundo Deportivo. In addition to scoring against Austria and France, built up a relationship with Lamine Yamal on Spain's right. So signing him, Spurs have extended the deal till 2031. Signing him is just reportedly a pipe dream. Priority is re-signing Joao Cancelo from Al Hilal, as they will only sign a center back if Ronald Araujo leaves. United, internally discussing a move for Fulham midfielder Sander Berge, according to Team Talk. And United want to sign 3 midfielders following Casemiro's departure after missing out on Elliot Anderson, Mateus Fernandes. They've moved decisively to sign Andre Santos and Yuri Tielemans, and they're looking for a third. Atletico de Madrid, Juve, and Manchester United all interested in Crystal Palace striker Jean-Philippe Mateta, according to Rudy Galletti. Valued at £29 million, willing to let him leave as his contract has a year to go. Talks expected to intensify in the coming weeks. Liverpool, leading the race to sign Mainz midfielder Kaishu Sano, prepared to offer up to €60 million for him, according to Team Talk. Even so, Arsenal, Spurs, and Dortmund, tracking the 25-year-old, been in contact with his reps, has impressed in the Bundesliga and in the World Cup, scoring against Brazil. Brentford, Brighton interested. Newcastle is as well. Other rumors. Liverpool have made Crystal Palace midfielder Adam Wharton their priority option for the summer, having rejected the opportunity to sign the Wolves at Joao Gomes. That's from Football Transfers. They also say United and Newcastle have both held talks with reps of Eintracht Frankfurt midfielder Hugo Larsson. Diario Sport, Hoffenheim striker Fisnik Aslani will only move to join either RB Leipzig or Barcelona. Juve, according to Gazzetta dello Sport, have made contact with the agent of free agent midfielder Franck Kessie, but need the Ivorian to lower his financial demands. Fabrizio Romano with a couple. Joao Gomes is set to sign for Aston Villa from Villa for Wolves for €40 million and $5 million in add-ons. Villa also in contact about a move for Bayern Munich's Joao Palhinha. Romano also discusses Aston Villa having agreed to personal terms with Pervis Estupiñán. Negotiations continuing with AC Milan for the left back. Sky Sports Italia with 2. Roma willing to offer €45 million for Crescencio Somerville as they await the West Ham United winger's decision on a move. Also looking at Atletico de Madrid's Nahuel Molina and Fiorentina's Dodo for the right back position. They also say Galatasaray have inquired about Gleison Bremer to the entourage, but have yet to make an offer to Juve. Team Talk again. Spurs have rejected Nottingham Forest's £38 million offer for Lucas Bergvall and want 50. 4-letter paper. Newcastle in talks with Brighton and Manchester City regarding Carl Rushworth and James Trafford, respectively, as they're looking for a keeper. Sky Italia, Sassuolo want to sign Daniel Maldini from Atalanta, but they need to wait for Ladea to reach an agreement with Bayer Leverkusen for Karim Alibegovic. That's from Sky Italia. Florian Plettenberg, Bayern Munich, negotiating with Gambinos Stars to permanently sign Bada Sapoko Njai following his loan spell. Nicolo Schira, Catanzaro want €8 million for Constantino Favasuli amid talks with Napoli, who want the right back to be a backup for Giovanni Di Lorenzo. Daily Telegraph, Ipswich have made an approach for Leicester winger Abdul Fatawu, who has attracted other clubs, and Nicolo Schira also says free agent Takahiro Tomiyasu getting closer to joining Venezia on a deal that will run until 2029. So that is your early transfer talk. And then checking things out on the Twitters and checking in with our friends and sources that we have there that we name by name. So Dominic Soboslai is apparently official because he is smiling at the camera and he has a pen hovering over a contract that he is apparently either signing or has signed. New contract in place within the hour, keeping him there until 2031. As with Ryan Gravenberch, Liverpool feels Soboslai's best years are ahead of him, proving he's been an important player since joining back in 23. Extension talks accelerated in the last 2 weeks with Richard Hughes leading negotiations. Soboslai's commitment to Liverpool apparent throughout discussions. Caden Wilson has joined Rochdale on a season-long loan from Chelsea. Atletico de Madrid CEO Miguel Angel Gil says Julian Alvarez is not for sale. My opinion is clear. Quote, the club's will is clear. We've made this clear to the player and his agent and to the president of Barcelona. I have no doubt that Atletico is the right place in the world for Julian, and Julian is the perfect striker for Atletico de Madrid. We want to keep him. I heard some statements from Barcelona president saying his offer wasn't open-ended. Our response is indeed open-ended. We don't want to transfer him. We didn't accept the €100 million offer, nor will we accept one of 150 or 200 million euro. Jared Bowen confirms he's staying at West Ham following a meeting with Daniel Kretinsky in Prague. TalkSport reported that Bowen took time after relegation to consider his future, prioritizing talks with West Ham to understand their vision. Bowen has made an amendment to his contract covering 26-27 as his deal now goes until 2030. Roshane Thomas with the update there. Jared Bowen says main motivation for staying and bringing the club back into the Premier League where we belong. Manchester City once again making progress on Lille's Ayoub Bouati. Lille won €100 million for an immediate transfer. Talks have been ongoing since last month. Package would drop if suitors agree to a loan back or a pre-agreement for another year. Benfica have held positive talks with Jean Duran over a potential move. Al Nassr prepared to sanction an exit. Duran has made it clear he wants to leave. Follows loans to Fenerbahce and Zenit since his move to Al Nassr from Aston Villa. Let's see if we missed anything. Arsenal set to bid on Morgan Rogers after holding talks with both player and club. Arsenal also keeping an eye on Julian Alvarez. Players made no secret of his desire to join Barcelona. And we mentioned Soboslai with the 5-year deal. Rami Abbas on Mo Salah's next move. We still do not know where Mohamed will play next season, but we may know very soon. It is not our style to have discussions with clubs that Mohamed wouldn't want to play for, just for the sake of noise. Chris Wilder signed a new deal with Sheffield United, signing a contract extension until summer of 28. And we mentioned Ipswich chasing after Leicester winger Abdul Fatawu. In Major League Soccer, let's see if there's anything involved with Tom Bogert and our friends at GMS. Hydration break. Brought to us by our friends at local Vine Beer, Wine, and Liquor stores. 2 locations in the Atlanta area, Johns Creek and Cumberland. Once again, with the 2 of them, it is very, very cool that they are a part of our family, and you can go, and their buildings are stacked. They are stacked. Cumberland and Cobb Parkway for one, Johns Creek for the other. Local Vine Beer, Wine, and Liquor stores. Thanks for being great partners with us here at SDH in the Kaiser Permanente studios. Hydrate. So there you go. All right, so nothing in the Major League Soccer point of locations. So, morning, Abby. Thoughts on Pochettino, keeping an open mind. I think if you want to sign him if he'll stay for the entire run, you sign him. I think that with what you were able to accomplish, then you re-up him. I think at the same time, though, if you don't, after what he accomplished in 11 months, and then you go chasing, unless it's someone that is literally Pochettino adjacent and has the same kind of mindset, then you're breaking everything down again, and then you're having to rebuild it with the talent pool that's there that you anticipate being with you in 4 years, and you risk going backward before going forward. So I would say that if he is available, then you sign him to another 4-year deal. Okay. I'm going to bring him in early. It's the top of the hour. It's close to the top of the hour. I said 11 o'clock, but it's 10:59 and change. And so I'm going to bring him in early, and we'll find out what's going on in the world of the International Federation of Cerebral Palsy Football, because they had their draw this morning, and it's the man in charge, Ash Hammond, CEO. What's the latest, sir?
Hey, good morning from the National Training Center here in Atlanta. We just held our draw for the 2026 World Cup, and very exciting. Good, fun morning.
I was multitasking. I was doing early part of hour number 2 and writing down teams as I was looking at the draw and everything. October 15th through 25th, and it's 20 national teams, 6 continents, 12 men's teams, and a record 8 women's teams. That's one of the first cool things I wanted to talk to you about here. Is the sheer volume of folks that are going to be visiting down there in Fayetteville. 8 women's sides. Very, very cool.
You're hired, by the way. That's better than I'm going to do. That was amazing. Yeah. So 8 teams is the biggest women's World Cup in CP football that's ever been held. We're one of the biggest para sports in the world, and very excited. We've got 6 continents. Yeah, 8. We got North America, South America, Europe, Asia, Australia, and Africa. So we got 6 continents coming in from for the women. And that's beyond exciting. And the men's draw was very exciting too. So yeah, thank you. You summarized it better than I could.
No, it's all good. I'm just, when Antarctica gets their club together, then to have the 7 continents, I think that would be the true moment when those of Antarctican descent come and be a part of things.
So the irony of that conversation is I started the year in Antarctica as a personal trip. I went down. I've actually played soccer now on 7 continents. Wow. I started the year in Antarctica, and I've visited 6 continents this year. So I'm my 7th to come. But the Penguins are not ready. I can assure you, the Penguins are not ready.
I've heard that their left foot is kind of weak, and
terribly weak.
And so they got problems from the outside. They've got to be inside the 18 if they're going to get things done.
Absolutely.
When it comes to assembling this, and we'll go over the groups kind of in a bit, what's it like to have a World Cup for the IFCPF in the United States, and to have a venue like the Arthur M. Blank U.S. Soccer National Training Center where you can have everything under one almost roof, but in October? What's it like to have it centralized and have it here in the U.S.?
Yeah, so our cycle is every 2 years for a World Cup, because we don't have as many games as a traditional program might have. So we typically play. Oops, sorry about that.
Oh, he hit the button. Somebody was trying to call him. I think somebody tried to call him. We got to find out who is trying to call Ashley here.
Sorry about that. Leave me alone.
Who was trying to call you?
Leave me alone. So we do our cycle on every 2 years. And so we were in Salou, Spain 2 years ago. And at the end of that event, in chatting with some of the U.S. soccer people, they said, hey, listen, maybe it dovetails nicely with the opening of the National Training Center. Why don't we consider bringing this to the United States? And obviously I'm an American based in New Jersey, originally born in England, but American. My son plays for the para-national team for the U.S. soccer team anyway. And I'm the CEO. And I said, hey, it all seems to fit nicely. Amazing venue. Georgia's an incredibly lovely state, great people, friendly people. We knew we'd get support from down here. So it all fit nicely. And if you've not been to the National Training Center, then take the time to come. It is spectacular, world-class facility. Extraordinarily well done by U.S. Soccer and the Arthur Blank Foundation. And in our world, more importantly, it's the most accessible building, meaning that it's, disability friendly. It's incredible.
No doubt. And for those that may not know, who might have not seen the game in and of itself, it's 7-a-side. And what else sets it apart from what else that folks might see on a normal basis?
Yeah, so our men's game is 7-a-side. Our women's game is still 5-a-side. Women's CP football is relatively new, so building the rosters up, making sure there's enough women available. So they actually play on a 5-a-side basis. 2 of the interesting modifications that people would notice are the goals are obviously smaller. The field is smaller. If you can imagine, the men's field is played pretty much on an 18 to 18 field if you equate it to a large-sided field. So you figure 18 to 18th and then 50 wide. And the women's team is played on a slightly smaller pitch than that. And then like I say, the 2 serious modifications are there's no offside, so the game's super wide open and exciting. A lot of space to cover with no offside. And the inbounds for a throw can be done with a one-handed underarm throw because of the impact on some of our athletes in their arms, meaning that doing a 2-hand overhead throw for some players may be not possible. So there's the opportunity to do that. So the 2 primary changes of the rule, no offside and an underarm throw. And then the substitutions, similar patterns of substitution, but again, 7-a-side. And then the only other restriction that won't be seen necessarily is what we call our classification restriction. So all athletes are classified according to their level of impairment. And then on the men's side, it won't mean much, but it'll start to mean much. You have to play a 1, which is the most impaired. You can only play 1-3, which is the least impaired. And so most teams play 5-2s on the men's side, and women's it's 1-1, 1-3, 3-2s.
Ash Hammond, the CEO for the International Federation of Cerebral Palsy Football, fresh off the draw that I had on a separate monitor while we were doing the show here in hour number 2, just so I could break things down and get smart. Women's draw, U.S., Japan, Finland, and Kenya in one group, Australia, Netherlands, Ireland, and Colombia in the other group. Then on the men's side, Now, I got some questions about this men's draw, Ash.
Me too.
I'm looking at the groups, and I see the Netherlands and Scotland in Group A, and then you got the USA and Canada in the rest of that group. Then in Group B, Brazil, Spain, Australia, and Chile. So Brazil and Chile, you have the two South American teams that are going to be going at each other. You get USA and Canada, who they'll have a rivalry when it comes to parking tickets. If they exist. And then Japan and Indonesia in Group C, and England and Ireland. Man, these groups are nuts, man.
Well, luckily we have a great director of referees, Sky Arthur Banning, Dr. Sky Arthur Banning from Clemson, because I'm going to be on the phone with him next and checking on assignments, because those are some tough matchups. The U.S. men's head coach is actually Scottish, but he's an American citizen, and the head coach is the U.S. men's team. And Scotland was here recently for the opening of the facility to play the USA, so they got a taste of it. Unbelievable matchups. It's funny because Scotland had to be drawn into certain groups so as not to have 3 European teams in one group. And so they were kind of destined to be a certain place. But as it turns out, they got pulled in they got pulled in Group A. So amazing matchups. Listen, they're all good teams. They're all really good teams. Indonesia, we had our Asia Oceania in Indonesia. Fantastic group. They will not be, no one should underestimate, even though they came out of the final pot. That's because they don't have the rankings that other teams have. Do not underestimate Indonesia.
When it comes to the growth of the sport, and I guess this is a two-part question, what's it been like for you to see the sport grow to where it is now, where you're having an expanded field on the women's side, where you have 12 teams that you can just pretty much put a blanket over or throw them in a tent and it's going to be okay. Whoever can find the side port, is the one that survives. What's it like to see the sport evolve to where you're having 20 teams in a tournament?
It's fantastic. Gender equity has been something we've demanded, we've pushed for. Our teams have responded. The women around the world have done an amazing job. FIFA has been fantastic in supporting us. U.S. Soccer has been fantastic in supporting us. We're very fortunate also. We have a sponsor, Capelli Sports, has been amazing. So we have an enormous amount of support. Our team is great. We have Sam Turner, Director of Football in England. We have Kat Hicks in Australia, Director of Marketing, working here with the Director of Media here in the U.S., Rachel Crumbly. We have people, much like our teams are all around the world. My meeting schedule is usually midnight, 4 o'clock in the morning, and then midday to catch everybody around the world. And amazing team. The women are fantastic. Anybody who's not seen CP football being played, come down to Atlanta, October 15th onwards, spend a couple of days with us, hang out, either volunteer or just come watch some of the games. It's going to be really phenomenal. And on the women's side, there's a tremendous rivalry brewing, which is the USA won the inaugural World Cup 4 years ago. Australia won the second World Cup 2 years ago. So they're playing I suspect those two will be competing late into the competition. I know the other teams are really good too, but that could be a cracking final. If those two were to make it back to the final, we'll see a very interesting game.
And then my follow-up to that is, what's it like to see the game expand the way that it has, where you have now all these multiple continents, and the games and the margins are I imagine they're getting smaller now that you mentioned having Indonesia on the men's side and you have Kenya on the women's side. What's it like to see the game expand and then have the margins get smaller when it comes to those top teams and the newcomers come in?
Certainly, that's a really good way to put it. The margins contract, right? So the beauty of our sport is, with only 7 on the field, you 1 or 2 really good players can have a significant influence. Basketball is a 5-team sport, and sometimes having a really great player, that can certainly have an impact. And there's certainly some amazing players around the world. The women's game, we're super excited to have the women's team from Kenya come. Had the good fortune to drop into a couple of their practices on Zoom to take a look at what they're up to. Again, we don't underestimate any of these teams, even though they're new to events for us. There's a lot of pride and a lot of hard work going on around the world in these teams. The Dutch team are at it. The Finnish team, the Finland team, wow, so organized, so well put together. They're going to be a tough ask for everybody as well.
All right. So now that you've had the draw, I know that it may not necessarily be in that office, and Rachel may have it, in a spreadsheet someplace. What are the next things that need to be done for the International Federation to get as prepared as humanly possible for the World Cup in October? What does the to-do list look like, and where is it? And what do you think the next thing is that you can cross off that to-do list to get ready for October?
So we've been at it for a few months. Again, great support from Georgia State Soccer Association, great support from Brian Jack's office. Congressman Jack's office has been helping us with visas. We've ticked off hotels, we've ticked off buses, we've ticked off many of the big items. Broadcasting is something we're still working on, and that's not my next biggest job is going to be broadcasting and making sure that we get the games streamed live all over the world. We typically do a really good job of that, so that's my next big bucket item. But honestly, my team is great. They're really well organized. U.S. Soccer is great. People like yourself supporting us, having it on your broadcast. We can't thank you guys enough for bringing us on. And your preparedness it touches my heart to know that you've taken the time to learn about us and be so conversant about what we do. It means so much to us.
Well, when you have someone like Rachel, who we've known for quite some time, and we've gotten to see Jacob, and through the local story of Jacob being a part of things on the national level, it was a natural in for us to start covering the sport. And then you see the successes that are going on. And I mean, shoot, look, we have a morning show, and look, if I can find highlights, I'm running highlights. And so I've run highlights of competitions from South America having to do with CPF and the U.S. side. So no, it has been a natural thing for us here at SDH to continue to talk about all aspects of the game and treat everyone the same. That's the biggest thing. Is it just because the title might be long or it might be different? Everyone is the same, and we've treated everyone the same. And this is just another part of the game and being able to let everybody. We talk about margins closing.
Yep.
The world's not as big as you think.
No.
And so to be able to tell these stories and to be able to do this that's attached to CPF, that we're going to be banging on your door. That come October, we're going to be covering it as much as you want. And you can knock on our door and sit there and go, hey, we might need some folks in October to kind of help out with, play-by-play. Those open door. It's an open door policy, Ash.
I got to say, Rachel said you got to meet these folks. These are the best thing. Taking away all of your prior knowledge necessarily of Jacob, she said this is the biggest, best. The soccer down home in Atlanta. She said you got to come meet these people. They're unbelievable. So we're super excited to be on your. You've got a huge audience down here, and we're super excited to be on your broadcast. And we will certainly will be welcoming you to the facility when we come down here. And on that subject, we're very lucky. For example, U.S. Soccer supports its disability national teams, the English FA, the Australian FA, all the FAs and NPCs, National Paralympic Committees that support their disability teams. Some do, some don't. Some are grassroots, hardworking teams that just put it together. But we have a tremendous amount of support. And again, with FIFA coming in to help us this year and all the other organizations, we're going to continue to expand. So we're glad you're a part of that and going to be a part of it and going to be a part of our program here in October.
So then let me ask you this. For those national committees that aren't attached and it's left to the grassroots, and we know that the grassroots efforts are doing well to build these programs, what are the national committees missing out on by not jumping on and being a part of this and having the grassroots folks take over? What are they missing out on by not being a part of this?
Great question. Thank you for asking that question. It's. I think it makes a statement about your civilization, if you like, or just your national. Who's investing in their disability athletes, and again, countries like the U.S. lead the way, and that England leads the way. Australia leads the way. Some of the countries you'd expect to lead the way, and some do not. And and I'll be controversial here and say there are some teams that it's just down to the folks. It's just down to some of the guys put it together, and enormous credit to them. And thanks to those that, we shouldn't be jealous of those that do it. We should be thankful to the likes of U.S. Soccer, English FA, and that, like, for the Netherlands and those organizations that really do a tremendous job supporting the disability. I think you're missing out because, number one, it's world-class football. Number two, these athletes deserve it more than anything else, and they work just as hard. Watching the CP guys walk around this place, U.S. Soccer, it's their home just as it is, all the other national teams that were down here for the World Cup. And we hope that some of them jump on board. So the National Paralympic Committees, the FAs around the world, if you're not working with your CP team, it's about time.
What he said. Ash Hammond, the CEO of the IFCPF, they had their draw this morning. The men's draw has some rather interesting bedfellows in the group stage with some rivals in other sports, and we're seeing it. It's great to see the women's field going to 8 and the men going to 12, and they're going to be here in middle and late October for the Galactic Championships of when it comes to the International Federation of Cerebral Palsy Football. Ash, I can't thank you enough. Like I said, open door policy, and I know that Rachel's going to keep us posted on everything we need to know between now and October. Great to see you, my friend. Go get some lunch. You've had an already busy day.
Thank you so much.
We'll catch
We
up.
appreciate you.
Be good.
Thank you.
There goes Ash Hammond, the CEO, and they had their draw, and he has survived his first visit here on the morning show. So they had their draw this morning. So once again, women's side for the championships is expanded to 8. And this is going to be mid-October, October 15th through 26th, 20 national teams, 6 continents. And we're working on Antarctica. So cerebral palsy football, as it is known in the U.S., 7 aside on the men's side, 5 aside on the women's side. And so it is draw was this morning. Women's side, U.S., Japan, Finland, and Kenya in one group. Australia, Netherlands, Ireland, Colombia in the other group. Those 8 are going to be chasing after the World Championship, Men's and Women's World Cup coming up in October. Men's side, USA, Canada, and that won't be competitive. Netherlands and Scotland, that's Group A. Group B, Brazil, Chile. That won't be competitive. Spain and Australia. Group C, England and Ireland. This is USA and Canada and England and Ireland. That's going to be, you've got that in Group C with Japan and Indonesia. So you're getting an expansion of cerebral palsy football. World Cup is coming to the U.S. It is coming to the National Training Center October 15th through the 25th. They had their draw this morning on their YouTube channel. And so obviously, as we get closer and closer to seeing what's going on there, we're going to keep an eye on all that. And we will let you know as things continue to evolve with that tournament, what's going on. Big thanks to Rachel Crumley, obviously, for helping us out from the U.S. side and U.S. media relations with the IFCPF to let everybody know what's going on. But I'm glad we were able to catch up with Ash this morning to let you know what's going on. Very, very cool stuff coming up here in October when it comes to World Cups. Our new president of soccer. Oh, Culebro. Oh, sorry, I was thinking Pochettino. Sorry, Abby. Culebro. I mean, he is Mauricio Culebro is going to be. He's overseeing an operation that is growing, and he has the experience of working with both a development of a women's side and a men's side. And remember, he's the business side of things. He is up here. I mean, he'll be in on those, as he said in his press conference. Mauricio Culebro will be in those meetings when we talk about, the day-to-day and players and things like that. He may offer an opinion, but it's up to those other individuals. It's up to Chris Henderson and everybody else to determine what it's going to look like on the field. Yes, he'll be engaged in those conversations, but it's up to the soccer folks underneath him with Atlanta United to get the tools for success. Mauricio Culebro will be giving the tools, and then it'll be time for Chris Henderson to cook. Same on the development of the women's side. He'll be in on those conversations, but the individuals that will be working specifically on soccer and personnel and all that will be underneath that discussion. So he's going to be overseeing everything from a business perspective, making sure that both of those businesses are doing as best they can across the board. But when it comes to the soccer decisions, he might be in a meeting, but he will not be the end of the discussion of saying, well, we want to bring in so-and-so. He might be a voice in the meeting, but from all indications, he's not going to be the voice to determine who does what. That'll be left to the soccer folks. He's the business guy on top. Everyone reports to him, but he's the business guy on top for both the development of the NWSL and for Atlanta United. So there you go. So that is the way to end a week. Finding out about the men's and women's World Cups of the IFCPF, International Federation of Cerebral Palsy Football. And once again, thanks to Ashley Hammond, the CEO. And they have a relationship with Capelli. I didn't know that, but that's the skinny. So World Cup's coming, and we're going to be blowing it up. We know that. 2026 IFCPF Men's and Women's World Cup's coming to the Arthur M. Blank U.S. Soccer National Training Center, and that is going to be laid out for you as we go. But obviously, as things continue to grow, we'll be talking about it more as we get closer and closer. Because think about it. That's 3 months away. You're like 90 days out. And you have a World Cup coming to Fayetteville in the form of the IFCPF. So very, very cool stuff there. Trying to see if there's anything that I might have missed when it comes to gossip, rumor, innuendo, and news or anything like that. Once again, remember, it is going to be a very, very busy weekend. Very, very busy weekend. According to The Guardian, more than 200 countries have endorsed Gianni Infantino for a fourth term. Of the 211, 200 have endorsed him so far. And keep an eye on that when it comes to the election. A Pitbull concert has forced a Champions League qualifier in Lithuania to move. Jakub Krupa, FK Kauno Žalgiris, was renting out the stadium for the gig. They take on KI of the Faroe Islands in a two-leg tie. And so they're probably going to have to play the qualifier later this month away from home after renting out their stadium to Pitbull. The top Liga champions, FK Kauno Žalgiris, beat Kosovo's Dritam 4-3 on aggregate. Champions League second qualifying round, securing around €1.7 million in prize money, scheduled to travel to the Faroe Islands on Tuesday before hosting the second leg on the 28th or 29th of July. Žalgiris is known more as a basketball franchise. They'd already booked the stadium at their 15,000-seater, Darius and Girenas, on the 31st of July, leaving them scrambling for a venue. Tried to swap legs at home at first, but Faroe Islands have national holidays on the 28th and 29th of July, St. Olaf's Day. And another Faroese club, HB, scheduled to play Motherwell in the Conference League second qualifying round on the 30th, which puts strain on policing. So instead of playing at home, Žalgiris is going to have to play in Jonava, a town about 20 miles away, at a stadium that holds just over 2,500 instead of their 15,000-seater. Žalgiris' head coach, Zeljko Sopic, he says, because of a concert by some dog or somebody, we got to move. It's better I don't say anything about that. It is what it is. The Žalgiris chair told The Guardian the club were aware of the potential clash, hoped to play the first match at home to avoid it. President of the Lithuanian Football Federation described the double booking as, quote, really unfortunate. Adding, Jonava Stadium is nice and tidy as well, but it is still a big difference. Pitbull back in Kaunas, Lithuania's second largest city, as part of his European I'm Back tour. Fresh off beating the Guinness World Record for the largest gathering of people wearing bald caps at his London show last week. So maybe there is hope for our friends out of the Faroe Islands. Maybe there's hope. Maybe. Just saying. NWSL tonight and over the weekend, and then we will bid you adieu for the day. Where's my juice boxes? I think I disposed of them. So let me see. Remember, Lindsay Heaps is being unveiled by Denver Summit. Very, very busy weekend for the league in and of itself. Tonight, 8 o'clock, Kansas City, favored at home at a -105 against San Diego Wave, who's a +250. Tomorrow, noon 4, 6, noon 2, 4, 6:30, and 8. Gotham, heavy favorite at home, -222 to Seattle. Portland, favored on the road at a +140 to Denver. 2 o'clock. Bay, an underdog at home to North Carolina Courage at a +104. 6:30, Angel City, big favorite on the road at Chicago at a -200. Chicago Stars a +425. Racing Louisville, favored at home at 8 o'clock at a +125. Houston a +170, and your draw is a +245, just so you know the standings going into the weekend and all of its chaos. San Diego at 28 points. Spirit at 27. They still have a match in hand. Thorns at 27. Gotham at 27. And it is Washington on goal difference. Portland on goals scored. Get you to 5th. And the Royals, who have now lost 2 in a row, they're at 24 points. Better goal difference in Kansas City, who have not drawn this year. It's either a win or a loss for them. Courage had won 4 of 5 last time out. They had their 4-game win streak snapped. They're in 7th at 21. Orlando's lost 2 of 3. They're at 20. That's your playoff bar right now. But Angel City's at 19. They've won 2 in a row. Seattle snapped a 2-game losing streak. They're at 17. Denver's hit each column once in their last 3. They're at 16, better goal difference than Boston, who has snapped out of it. They're unbeaten in their last 3. Houston had a 2-game losing streak, snapped last time out. They're at 15 points. They have scored more goals than Bay. Chicago is at 12 points and a minus 20 in goal difference. They've only scored 8 goals in 14 matches this year. Racing Louisville's lost 5 in a row. They're 2-1-10. And at 13 matches, they're at 7 points at the bottom of the NWSL. So that's your rundown of the NWSL. Remember tonight, 7 o'clock, it is Atlanta United in Nashville SC, at Nashville to take on Nashville SC at Geota. 7 o'clock is your Five Stripes countdown. Abe and Maddie, Mike and Jason will have the game for you. I still think it's going to be like an 8:20 kick. And then after the match, it is Five Stripes countdown with Abe and Maddie discussing what happens in that particular matchup. And then schedule compression takes over because they go to Charlotte in the midweek. And then next weekend, they are in New England to take on the Revs. So 3 games in 7 days for Atlanta United to start because they'll take it from here. So that's the rundown of the weekend. And third place game is tomorrow. And championship of the world is happening Sunday afternoon. Whew. It's another go-around of everything here at SDH AM. And have a fabulous weekend, Abby, as well. Fabulous weekend. Turning off for Atlanta United notification is going to be a concert. Yes, watch it at a much later hour. So once again, thanks to Rachel Crumley and the IFCPF and Ash Hammond, the CEO, letting us know about what's going on down in Fayetteville in October and what happened this morning. Thanks to Michael Parkhurst for dropping in this morning and breaking everything down for us when it comes to mentoring and World Cups and emotions and channeling those emotions and dealing with pressure and trying to turn it into a positive. So it's great to catch up with Cap and great to catch up with our friends at the IFCPF to break everything down there. Busy weekend. Pace yourselves. World Championship and all the things. Since it is the end of another week here on SDH, once again, SDH AM, 9:05 tomorrow morning, same on Sunday. Since it is the end of a show, we end the week as we always do. Mucha platial, play it safe, and enjoy. We'll see you soon.
The war was on. The keys on the typewriter had sharp points that kept sticking into our fingers. The dictating equipment started asking us questions, and our beepers sent electric shocks just through our body like a cattle prod. Out in the warehouse, the trucks kept banging into the docks, not even thinking about stopping. Oh, our frail bodies were strapped to the chairs, and our chairs were chained to the desks. Our pleas for justice were ignored, and the end seemed near. But we busted our slave drivers' little bitty balls. We've charged out of their brick fortress. The streets are ours, be